Hi, and welcome to the Same 24 Hours podcast. I'm Meredith Atwood, author of the book, The Year of No Nonsense. I'm a former attorney turned writer, speaker, and Ironman triathlete. Although right now, all I really like to do is lift weights. We all have the same 24 hours, but it's what we do in those hours that leads to our greatest health, happiness, and success. It's my goal to crack the code on a life of less nonsense so we can all make the most of our 24 hours. So let's get started. Hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of the Same 24 Hours podcast. Thank you for joining us. I'm very excited about our guest today. Rachel Cruze is here. How are you?
Doing great. Thanks for having me.
Excellent. I hear you have a new book coming out.
Yes, it is
No
out
pressure
in the
there.
world. I know, right? Oh, it feels like a pregnancy, and I just delivered the baby, and it's
was
all
it
across
this
America.
week?
Yes, it was. Yeah,
Oh my gosh. So you're on the press junket.
that's right. I know, I am, but it's exciting. I'm so happy about it.
So wonderful. So that means 2 days it was birthed, right? Because it's on Tuesday.
That's right. Yes. So it's been 48 hours.
Okay. Well, how are you feeling about it? And let's tell everyone what the book is Know Yourself, Know Your Money. Today we are talking about money and finances, which is very exciting. But how are you doing emotionally? Because I remember 48 hours after my second book came out, I was still flying high. It was like week 2 that I lost it.
I know. Your adrenaline kind of keeps you going, but it's weird launching a book during a pandemic. I mean, I'm usually on a 2.5 week book tour, and I'm in bookstores doing book signings and media and in the studios. And when I decided to launch a book in 2021 of January, I had no clue that this is what the world was going to be. So it's a totally different launch than I did with my past 2 books. But I have 3 little kids at home. So honestly, if there was any time in the world for this to happen and me be home at night, it's probably this one.
Yes. Well, good. Things work out. Even
I know.
in a pandemic.
I do miss being out though. I love the whole time of travel and all of that for book launches, but it's all good. We get to do a lot here, and I'm thankful for technology. I'm actually thankful for it. It can be a curse at times, but usually it's great.
For sure. I was very fortunate. Mine came out in December. I had a very extended book tour and events, and I got a lot of mine, in the real one-on-one world. But then my big one was the Barnes and Noble in Union Square in New York City, and that got canceled because of the pandemic. So I'm mad about that one.
Yeah, right.
But I was very fortunate considering, that I didn't have to launch the book in the pandemic. So I'm not going to complain.
That's right. That's right. Yes.
Okay, so let me tell you my little anecdotal story. I know you came on board with Ramsey Solutions in 2010. So I think that, and you may have been at the event in 2011, 2012 in Atlanta at the Gwinnett Center.
Okay.
I feel like you're familiar. When I see you, I'm I think she spoke there. But anyway, that was when Twitter and social media was still really new. And you guys had a giveaway that said, if you tweet about this, you'll win something. And I remember I was had my BlackBerry and I tweeted something. And I think I was one of 2 people who tweeted because it was still so new. And I won some package. I just thought that was so great. I was I never win anything. But that was such a life-changing event for my husband and I. We were in a lot of debt then, and we went to the event, and we're determined to get out of it, and we continued to spend like crazy people for 8 years.
Yeah.
We had all the tools and didn't do it.
Yeah.
And so all of that to say, when I saw your book, and we have spent the last year getting out of debt. We've got one more month and we will be out of unsecured. I'm going to make one of my little signs for you guys and send it to you. But the subtitle of your book is why handle, sorry, you tell me the subtitle of your book. I wrote it. This is not it. Why you handle money
the way you do and what to do about it.
Okay. Sorry, I'm looking at all these words and they all of a sudden don't make any sense. But why you handle money the way you do. And that all that to say that we had not looked at our habits. We had not looked at the people we were to figure out why we had all the tools in the world to dig out of debt, and we just didn't do it. And so that is my big long-winded story. A jumping off point for your book. Like, let's talk about this. Why do we handle money the way we do? Where does it start? What does it say about us, and what can we do about it?
Yeah, that's why I'm excited about the book. I mean, you hit it spot on, because personal finance, it's 80% behavior. It's only 20% head knowledge. So understanding what to do is a very small percentage of actually winning, because you have to do it. Your behavior has to kick into gear. You have to change your behavior from what you've been doing. But in order to change your behavior, you need to know, why am I doing this in the first place? I mean, you can try to solve the problems on the surface, but when you can really get to the root of issues and solve those, it helps everything in the process. So yeah, knowing yourself, it goes everything back from your childhood. It goes to your money tendencies that are more your personality. It goes to your fears, your dreams. I mean, there's so much that embodies us when it comes to our money, and unpacking each of those subjects is what I do in the book.
Awesome. Yeah. And I remember when I was a kid, my dad, and this stuck with me, he said, it's just money. We can always make more of it. And that was kind of how I grew up. My dad was self-employed. He, always was just making more of it. Like, it would always be there. And so
Yeah.
there was never this sense that it was something to honor. It was something you just did, and you didn't need to save it. And you just kind of hope for the best, because there'd always be more of it. And so when I got married, and we just thought there'll always be more of it, we have 2 advanced degrees, we'll just keep making it. And that, tying that behavior to
Yes.
where we ended up, it was very, it's like, oh, okay, well, naturally. So what is the first step to recognizing the behavior that is maybe the primary contributor to your current relationship with money?
Probably the primary one would be your money tendencies. And so with the tendencies, there's 7 of them, and neither one is right or wrong on the spectrum of each subject, but understanding where you fall in them is very important. So one of the spectrums is kind of describes your dad, and that mindset is abundance versus scarcity. So again, neither one is right or wrong, right? Abundance-minded people see the glass half full. There's always more opportunity. There's always more money. It's exactly what you just said. Where scarcity-minded people, the glass half empty. They're a little bit more cautious, a little bit more aware, can tend to hold a little bit closer. Now, those are not bad in and of themselves, but when you go to the extremes, that gets unhealthy. So when you go to the extreme of the abundance, is like, oh yeah, everything's going to be fine. I can just do whatever I want. It's going to be fine. Well, that's not always the case, right? A pandemic hits, and if you're living paycheck to paycheck and you lose your job, it's not always fine right then. In the scarcity-minded side, if you take it to the extreme, there's a lot of fear, a lot of close-fistedness. You don't take risks at all. You just hold everything so tight, and that's not healthy either. So that's one tendency to kind of look at the spectrum. There's another tendency of spender versus saver. Are you naturally just a spender at heart and it's easier to spend? Or are you naturally a saver? And again, neither one's right or wrong. The extremes are, you don't want to be a spender and spend everything you make. You're going to be broke. And you also don't want to save everything and be a hoarder, because there's a level of security there that's never going to be found, right? Because money won't give you that ultimate one. So there's 7 of those that I walk through, and I love that part of the book, because I didn't want any shame tied to those, because neither one is right or wrong on each side, but everyone's so different. Like, you look at money so differently. Like, another one I'm thinking of is safety versus status. Why do you want money? A lot of people want money just to feel secure and feel safe. And that's great. Other people want money for status, and that sounds bad, but status meaning I want to make money to do stuff. And this is me. I will budget and I will save so that I can buy a fun car, or that we can go on a great vacation, or I can go out to eat. Like, where my husband is more security. He's like, no, I'll have money in the bank, and that makes me feel good. That's why I work. But we come at it 2 totally different ways. Neither one's right or wrong, but understanding that about yourself is so important. And specifically, if you're married, opposites attract. So knowing your spouse in it too, it gives you empathy, and it helps so much with communication.
Oh, you raised such a good point. I actually wrote down relationship exclamation point, because when you said that, do you do it for status or safety? And then you explained status. I was like, oh yeah, that's me and my husband. Like, I just want to go do fun stuff, or, I want to get a Jeep one day, so I want to save for that. And he's just like, I need this pile of money, and I'm going to look at it, and then I will be okay. And so we've had this conversation, like, okay, when is the pile? This proverbial pile that we're building, when will it be enough? And he's like, he gave me a number, and I was like, okay, so when we get that pile, you'll be, sane. And he's like, and I don't believe him. Like, I don't believe him. I think like he just wants to keep building the wall.
Yes.
So what do you address that in your book at all about communication and how to kind of meet in the middle? And
Yes, very much so. Because I don't want to change who you are, right? Like I'm like you. I will always be that status side of it. And that's not bad. And so being able to embrace where you're at, but there's a level of relationship that there's sacrifice on both ends. Like that is marriage, right? You are living in a sacrificial relationship. And so I think what's important is having goals together. So you can say, okay, this year we have 2 goals. I have a goal that I want some kind of experience or some kind of thing. Like I do want a great vacation, but also let's work at building that big fund up, whatever it is, the emergency fund or whatever you're saving for there too. So you can run on 2 different tracks, if you will, in a sense of how you view money, but coming together and getting that unity where you're working together. And that's the key. Like my husband and I, we built a house and moved in last year, and we had this huge goal of paying for it. And so we saved for years, and we took savings we had from something else and brought it in. I mean, it was this whole thing. And we had a budget that last year of us building as we broke ground, we had to hit every month. And I'm like taking speaking gigs. I mean, we're doing everything we can. And it was, honestly, I told someone, I was like, us moving into that house on move-in day was amazing. It was so fun. But the fact we accomplished that goal together, that felt kind of big. I mean, it kind of changed our marriage. I was like, we looked at each other like, we did this. We kind of did what felt like the impossible. So I want couples to be able to do that. Work as a team. Money becomes something that goes in between couples so many times. It gets in between them. And I'm like, no. Set it out in front, lock arms, and look at it and say, okay, how are we going to tackle this issue together?
yeah, and that's such a good point too, the looking at it, because I've noticed, and I know you guys talk about it a lot on podcasts, but just most people that are spenders or really have dug themselves a nice debt hole, they have no idea what it even is, right? They're shoving the envelopes in the drawer. They're not looking at their logins. And it was never me, because I always paid my bill, but I was like not really looking at the whole balance, and last year when I thought, oh gosh, this is feeling a little suffocating, let me put it all on a spreadsheet. And I did that. And that is always like the the come into Jesus moment, because you're like, oh, this is really bad. But what it was able to do for my marriage, because my husband being the saver and the very like in tune with it, it had me own my part. It had me have to apologize. It had me making promises to do better and to set a goal. Like, look, I think we can be out of this in 14 months. I think, here's what I'm thinking. He's like, really? That's a big number. And I'm like, I think we can. And yeah, I mean, I think it might be a month early.
That's amazing. Amazing.
But and then part of me is like, oh, I think I saved my marriage. Because, so anyone who's out,
though, right? Like it's crazy because money, and I do talk about this in the book too, but I'm like, our life problems masquerade themselves as money problems. And so it's not always just the debt issue. There's a level of discontentment that we have. There's a level of lack of planning. Like there's other issues going on in it, and it shows itself through money. But when you can get to that root cause and you say, you know what, we're going to tackle this symptom together and go to the root problem together, it brings unity unlike anything else, because you become a healthier person overall. You're not just getting healthier with your money, you're getting healthier with your communication, you're getting healthier in your relationship, like all of it. It just betters your life. It really does. It shows you discipline as well.
Yeah. And I'm in the fitness industry. That's kind of, I guess, where I have most of my feet. And part of what like my belief is how you treat your body is how you treat the world. And I think it's the same with your money. I mean, how you treat your money is kind of how you treat the world. And at points in my life, like I treated my body like a trash can. I spent whatever. It was just this general, just no respect for the temple of my body and the money I brought in. I mean, you go to law school, you get a law degree, and you trash all your money. Like, what is the point? I could have, and then you look back and you have all this regret. And that is tough to deal with too. And I know you talk about that too.
Yeah.
What do you do with that sick feeling in your stomach when you put it on a spreadsheet? What do you tell your clients? What do you tell your readers?
Yes, a lot of grace. A lot of grace. There are always going to be money mistakes. Nobody's perfect. Everyone's money mistake may have different zeros at the end, but we're all in this life trying to figure it out. And I think the point of being able to forgive yourself, being able to give yourself grace, then in turn, you're able to give other people grace, and you're able to see, okay, when stuff happens, it's okay. And there's a spectrum. And I talk about this in the book as well. There's a lot of spectrums in the new book, all these quadrants and everything. But
Right.
but really, there's a level of too many rules is legalistic, but too much grace in the money side can be enabling. So you want to find this happy medium, because some people walk around with so many rules, and there's a lot of people that follow us that are like this, and I call them out because, oh, if $4 is out of the budget, it's like, you have to take a deep breath, calm down. Everything's going to be okay. Like, you almost sacrifice relationship because of the rules. And I don't want that for people. But also on the other end, if you're making the same mistake currently over and 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 over, then you're going to continue to get that result over and over and over and over. And I love my readers. I love people that tune in, because I'm like, I don't want that for you. I want you to get to a place where your money doesn't control you. You control it. You're in charge of it. It's not dictating your life. You're dictating it. And to get there, you do have to learn lessons from those mistakes. But those mistakes do not define you. That's not who you are.
Right.
And sadly, we live in this world where our net worth is our self-worth. It's a number. We have a number that stares at us in the face. We don't have a number for how good of a mom we are. We don't have a number of how great our relationship is with Jesus or our husband or our work. Like, there's not a number for that. But our money, there's a number. And so when you put it on a spreadsheet, you see it black and white with a red and minus in front of it and a number. It becomes your identity, and it doesn't need to be. It doesn't need to be. And I think that's the world we live in, which I hate so much.
Yeah, for sure. And it's interesting, I think there's a certain level of consciousness and unconsciousness that is tied to money, like to debt, to accumulating a lot of debt. There's just this zone out, check out. And in the way I do it in an online cart. I mean,
Right, right.
Even the other day, we were on a budget, and my daughter needs a jump rope for her CrossFit. And she said, I need a jump rope. And I'm like, oh, these jump ropes are so expensive. Like, come on, Meredith, like, really, you're going to knock her over a jump rope? I get on, they're $17. Oh, that's not so bad. So I'm in the Rogue store, and I'm like, well, I need a jump rope, and I need this tank top, and I need this. And before I know it, I go to check out, and I have $300 of stuff in the cart. And before, I would be like, oh, I shouldn't spend that, whatever. Like, there was just a mindlessness to it, right? But being so close to being out of debt, I was like, wait a minute, whoa, and so I just cleared the cart. I got the jump rope. I did get a pair of weightlifting shoes for my husband because he's needed a pair, and they were on sale. However, I cut the cart from $320 to like $102, right?
Yes.
And I paid cash for it. So
there you go.
But that's how I got in that situation. Like, when I look
100%.
back to the 20 years, it was just like, add to the cart, or like, not even, it's just a lack of awareness and presence.
Yeah, and I think too, Meredith, I'm like, that's it. That's normal. Like, people ask on interviews, like, what's the number one mistake people make with money? And I always say they're not intentional, because we can live our lives just exactly like what you just said. I'm like, yes, exactly like that. And we all fall into it. I mean, during the pandemic, I literally was just like scrolling through ads and stuff. I did. And I was like, why am I buying stuff? I was like, because I'm bored. And I'm like, Rachel, what are you doing? But seriously, I'm like, that is it. When you're just not intentional, and you go through, years, some people decades, and you look up, you're like, where did all my money go? Like, it gets to be April 15th, and you do your taxes, and you're like, where did it go? And that's it. So the budget, that's why I love it so much, is I'm a natural spender. Like we talked about, I'm a natural free spirit. So usually I would hate the budget, and I did for a long time, but I started to learn that a budget gives me permission to spend. So, I mean, like, if I were you, it's like a workout line item. And I'm like, okay, cool. Yes. I get to spend X amount each month, and I don't have any guilt. There's no shame. I get to add the cart to that amount, and I'm good. But when you don't know, and there's not a plan, it is every time you're at the grocery store, you're somewhere, you're thinking, is this okay? Is this enough? But that budget, it gives you that intentionality so much. I mean, probably just like fitness, right? You have to, I mean, fitness and money, they're so aligned, but it's the same thing.
Yeah. And when you said budget, I feel that way about a meal plan. And, so many body image and diets, and people are like, oh, intuitively eat. And I'm like, oh no, intuitively eat has me a star on my 600-pound life. That is what that means to me. Like, I need a meal plan. But the beautiful thing about the meal plan is it is permission to eat. Like, when you actually plan it, it's like plenty of food. and you do it according, and just like you said, like my budget is a lot of rice at lunch. Isn't that awesome? My budget for Amazon is whatever.
Yeah.
And it is, I think there's this resistance to structure and
Hmm.
consciousness where we think it's holding us down, and it really is that freeing factor.
You're exactly right. Exactly right.
Yeah. All right.
You
So
need to, you
tell
need to
us.
get me
Oh,
in
go ahead.
shape. You need to get me in shape,
Oh,
Meredith. I
yeah.
need my.
You look like you're really not doing well,
I need,
Rachel.
I need to. No, I
You
need
need
I
some
need some
muscles.
exercise. Yeah,
Oh
I
my
do. I
gosh.
really do. I really do.
I would love to do that. That would
I
be,
know we
it would
should.
be my honor to make you so sore you can't sit on the potty.
Good goal. That's a good
Because
goal.
if you've got 3 young kids, your back already hurts.
Oh,
I call it
everything
the
hurts.
mom hunch. It's like
It,
you're always in
it
this
is my
position.
neck and my shoulders. Yes, and one arm is stronger than the other
One
because I carry
arm.
all the babies on one hip. Yeah.
I hear you.
The
I
thing.
have 2. They're 12 and 13 now, but they were 14 months apart. And so there was a period of
Oh,
time where there was like always a child on
you
me,
had twins.
hanging
Is what happened.
pretty much.
Uh,
It's fun now, but whew, I hear
totally,
you.
totally.
All right, Rachel. Well, I'm not going to keep you. So tell everyone where they can find your book and what else is next. What's coming next for you? Even though
Yes,
this
yeah,
is
you can
huge.
find it. Yeah, anywhere books are sold. So Barnes & Noble, Books A Million, Target, Walmart, it's all there. And Amazon, of course, we love Amazon. And RachelCruze.com if you want to go straight to the mothership. It is there as well. But yeah, I mean, honestly, the book is a big deal launching it. And I do the Rachel Cruze Show. So there's a podcast and YouTube version of that. So that's fun to do weekly. And yeah, just a lot of fun money content, hopefully coming people's way to help them get control of this area of their lives.
Yes, absolutely. Well, the book is Know Yourself, Know Your Money. This is Rachel Cruze, and thank you so much for your time. This is wonderful.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me on.